I am Rachel Gorsky, or Miss Gorsky, or 高老师, and I teach Mandarin levels 2 through advanced in the upper school. I admittedly struggled with this for a while because, I was new last year. So what I had to do was make it so that they weren't afraid to speak, which meant that failure needed to not be a scary concept. I wanted them to feel safe to make mistakes, in that if they did, they could rebound. What I have been working on steadily are ways to get points back after tests. If they prove to me that they had mastered a grammatical structure maybe 2 chapters later than planned, they can still use it, so it doesn't make sense that they retain a B or even a C on that skill if they have it, even if it's later. I want my kids to feel safe learning, so I have to allow them the opportunity to regain lost points so that they're not afraid of failure, which keeps them from talking in the first place. I instituted my just keep talking rule, which is essentially like, don't care if you make a grammatical error or if your vocab isn't quite correct, just keep talking and we'll get there. Students are very capable of teaching themselves material. It's just that when there is a problem, the teacher has to guide them through the process of rebounding. I've been learning languages pretty much my entire life. I've done a lot of research on how secondary languages are acquired in the brain, and so I have a lot of tips and tricks for learning language. For the higher level students, I do still feel like a guide, specifically in my advanced Mandarin class. So I've given 2 very talented students completely free rein. I barely have to do any teaching, and that sounds a little bit weird, but I absolutely love it. The hardest part is giving them the space and the time to actually pursue those endeavors. In the flip mastery class, I gave my students a ton of trust. Students just kind of scatter, and they learn the material on their own in their own way. They're allowed to work in pairs, they're allowed to work on their own, in groups, however they work best. I'm going to trust you to be good people and good students. You can study wherever you want to, however you want to, and you can essentially do what you want. There have been very few instances where that trust has been broken. I also let students give me a ton of input onto how my classes run. I have an assistant teacher, and she has done so much for my classroom. I need to know what students need in the classroom if I'm going to be an effective teacher. I think that fosters a trust because they know I'm listening. That is a huge struggle. Our content is often given to us in the form of a textbook. What I decided to do was make my classroom skill-oriented as opposed to content-oriented. However, what the textbook cannot provide are really important skills. For example, being able to hold a conversation. I open up the topics to students and they decide what they want to study. They kind of decide their own content, and then I focus on teaching them how to use that content. Mainly I hear about them through Brian Lacatus and Google+. Tyler Benedict is also huge when it comes to finding up-to-date teaching methods and ideas. Flip mastery, definitely one of them. Half of my life right now is flip mastery, so yeah, that was definitely huge and extremely helpful. What I am assessing is your ability to actually use the language as opposed to your ability to fill in the blank. I've separated language learning into the core skills, and then I assess their ability to use those skills. What I have to then assess is who needs that extra help, and how then can I provide that help.